Korea's first National Aviation Museum was finally opened in July 2020 at Gimpo Airport's domestic office building. The construction of the museum began when there was no proper aviation museum, even though Korea's aviation history was writing down more than 100 years of footprints. I would like to introduce you to the early days of aviation history in Korea. Leonardo da Vinci was the first person to have a scientific approach to how humankind can fly in the sky. Determining that he must have an accurate knowledge of the nature of air and its procedure to fly in the sky, he dissected the birds and scientifically studied the relationship between the birds' soaring power and air resistance. He left a sketch of ornithopter, which is a device that utilizes wing motion and vehicle, which applies the principle of screw to fly vertically in the Codex of the Flight of Birds. Da Vinci concluded that we could accomplish flight according to the mathematical laws. He provided a groundbreaking basis for this realization. The provincial government of the Republic of Korea, established in April 1919, promoted aviation personnel to fight against Japan. With the support of Korean Americans, Willow's Korean Aviation School was established in Willow, California. 4 Korean youth were sent to the Republic of China Air Force School in Yunnan province in China to become aviators. As such, the provincial government of the Republic of Korea opened the Korean history aviation with the aviation independence movement. After a successful flight by brothers in 1903, Kim Kwang-myung and George Lee were the first Koreans to appear about airplanes. Meanwhile, since the Korean peninsula was under Japanese occupation, the first flight was also started by Japanese colonial rule. As Japan lost its right to the Pacific in 1942 due to the defeat of the Battle of Midway and gradually squeezed out in Asia, including China, the Korean provincial government in Chungcheong also reorganized its lines and created the Korean Liberation Army to enter the war against Japan. When Chinese warlords set up an aviation school in 1919, anti-Japanese activists who fled to China and conducted the independence movement were able to train in aviation schools and to become pilots. The Republic of Korean Air Force was founded in October 1st, 1949, for self-sufficient national defense, following the footsteps of Korean Aviation School and Korean Liberation Army flight squadrons. Immediately after its foundation, even under the harsh conditions caused by the Korean War, the Republic of Korea successfully defended its sky and led the war to victory. Since then, the Republic of Korea has strengthened its air force capacity during the Cold War and sought to become a global air force by continuously expanding its capacity for self-sufficient national defense. On the other hand, the personnel that has been trained in the Republic of Korea Air Force has been released to the private sector to become a driving force for the Korean aviation industry. Korean National Airlines, the first civil airline to be established since the establishment of the Korean government, Korea International Airlines, which was established in February 1946 by Shin Yong-woo during the U.S. military administration, was changed to Korean National Airlines on October 1st, 1948. They started the first regular flight with a 6-seater station wagon route between Seoul Gimpo Airport and Busan Seoyong Airport. In commemoration of this, the Republic of Korea government of air routes between Seoul and major cities in the Republic of Korea. The government signed a contract with Hajin Corp, a private company, on February 27, 1969, to normalize the government-run air transport industry. Hajin Corp launched Korean Airlines Corporation on March 1st and held an acquisition ceremony at Gimpo Airport on March 6th. At that time, Korean Air owned 8 aircraft, which was ranked the 11th of 11 airlines in Asia.